My name is Hadley Bajramovic. I've been in immigration for 22 years. And Zayra, how long have you been working as a senior paralegal interpreter?
Hello, yes, for almost 15 years now.
We've had a rough day, and we're just going to talk today about what we're having issues with today and maybe try to solve some of them here. Zayra and I were making a phone call today with the son of a woman detained yesterday. I'm going to call her Mom Y. And Mom, is from El Salvador, and she has a 13-year-old, a 16-year-old, and then an adult child. And she had gone through removal proceedings and BIA and even had a Ninth Circuit appeal denied that she did not know about. And so we're going through the remorse about what could have been done to prevent her being detained. She came in last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. We have to do due diligence. When a case that starts in court and goes all the way to the Ninth Circuit, we have to get an EOI or FOIA to know what the attorney argued, the facts, the law as applied by the judge, and if the judge made a mistake or if the attorney did something, negligent that caused her not to be approved. We didn't have the time to do that. And hearing her family cry today broke us. It broke our hearts. I was taking the call from my car and I had to sit for a while.
I went to her eyes check and she was held. And, we were discussing the current situation that the community, all the fear and everything that you see in social media, TikTok and everything. And I was just sharing with them that I saw this video that went viral of this mom that was with her daughter in her car. And she's like, I'm not gonna open the door. You need to show me a judicial order. I'm just not getting out. And the daughter screaming, leave her alone. After a couple of minutes, smashed her window. The daughter started screaming and crying, saying, don't take my mom. It was a hard video to watch. So she was taken away. There's broken glass. The mom was like, oh, yeah, you did that. He's like, just wait, let me. They were trying to be nice. Don't, get cut with all these glass. And she was like, don't worry. I'll get up. She kept her composure being a mom because her daughter was screaming. She was devastated and she didn't know what to do. Call this person. Everything is going to be fine. And then we did this call with the daughter and son of our client. He was sobbing and crying the entire time. I was just like, oh my God, to top it off, I was just watched that video yesterday, I think. And then the weekend, I'm not sure. I can't keep up with the time anymore. And so to hear this son crying and saying, please help us, do anything you can. I'm worried about my siblings. He's going to become the father of those kids. And you don't think about those things when you see these situations of families getting pulled apart. I'm not sure about her complete case, but I'm assuming she's a single mom. And now her adult child has to worry about what am I going to do with my younger siblings?
Yeah, I was just trying to help him go through the shock and the sadness. I wanted him to understand that it's likely that she's going to El Salvador. Because when somebody has been through all those stages of administrative relief, they've run out of post-removal relief. The problem was we didn't know she had a Ninth Circuit filed and denied until after she was detained.
The son state didn't know. That's why we were trying to get this information. But it was too late. She came to us too late. And right now we're just really running against time, But Hadley was very sincere and told him, I don't want to give you false hope. This is not looking great. The more she said that, the more emotional he got. It was hard to hear him say, please help us, do anything you can. He kept saying what the attorney did to them. I believe Hadley, their ex-attorney, was like disbarred, I think, or something like that. I don't
He was suspended.
Oh, he was suspended.
Their attorney was suspended. She had a packet for the ICE officer for check-in. We did a stay of removal, had the fees ready. With the stay of removal in Los Angeles, you must present with the alien to the federal building in downtown LA and pay a $155 fee by money order. I mean, it's like the most burdensome process ever. I've done it so many times, and we'll get there and they'll be like, oh, well, the cashier's not here. So you have to come back at 1:00. Then we'll have to hang out for 2 hours, go back, and the cashier is not available again. It's not easy to submit an ICE stay of removal. Knowing she was going to check in, we prepared the stay of removal with the money order to show she was at least prepared and taking this seriously. I knew that the local field office of ICE would not take the money order. I know there are rules that they have to be feed in downtown LA, but there simply wasn't time. She had the ICE check-in scheduled already, and we talked about everything. She didn't have fear, and that's one thing that, is a problem because, if she had fear to go back to El Salvador, then maybe there would be a reasonable fear interview to help postpone her removal. Maybe she would be detained. But I mean, her son was saying that she's not eating, that she's miserable, depressed. And I imagine that's what most people are experiencing. And they were completely out of beds locally. So we thought that she was going to be sent to another state, but she ended up still being held in Southern California last night. I'm hoping ICE will take my begging into consideration, emailed and submitted all the documents proving that she has children and that she's been in compliance with their check-ins. And please give us another year to look into whether the attorney caused prejudice to her case and for her to prepare. She's going to leave. We'll see what happens. We'll let you know next week. I told her son he doesn't want her detained very long. And going back to El Salvador is going to be really hard on the family and cause extreme hardship to the children. ICE doesn't care. I've seen how they talk to people and treat people. They believe they're not dealing with humans to treat people this way. So I don't know. I know there's always good ICE officers in there. So I don't want to say this is everybody. There's always been good ICE officers, but the ones that smash windshields, they're not looking at that woman like my mom or my wife. They're not putting that person on the same level as their family.
And on that video, like the daughter was mentioning, how can you do this? You don't have children. They don't see us as human, but something else. That's why they're willing to do these things to a 54-year-old mom. And with her daughter screaming, our client came to us too late. We've been talking about this so much about, what are people waiting to get advice, to get a process going? Is it your fear stopping you from acting on it? Financial reasons, family members? Most of us have like quite a few attorneys in the house that always know what to say or answer to certain decisions. Why spend money on an attorney when you can get a new car? And that most likely you're not going to even enjoy it because you could be detained and removed. So, and it's just really hard to understand. And I obviously try to just discern what my community is thinking. Why it is so hard to make these decisions. I want to make it better for my family, understand my situation, understand my options. What should I do when these things happened? Instead of just like walking line on, and just thinking like like we say in Spanish, I don't want to think about it so it doesn't happen. But like I said, this is not something that is not going to happen to our families, our friends, our people from church or anything like that. So I think it's hard to understand what our people are thinking and what is their priority right now. I know that the most fear they have is leaving their family and thinking what are they gonna do without me, like because a lot of them are, the breadwinners and the ones who support the entire family. What's gonna happen if I'm not there? So
Well,
difficult.
what, Zayra, I haven't seen that video. The woman was informed by one of the advocacy groups, advocates, using these Know Your Rights cards in a meeting recently where a very well-respected advocate said, the Know Your Rights cards are like magic. And she was like, I am not lying. This has really happened, but there were some workers in the field and I showed up and they handed the Know Your Rights card over. And I said, okay, be on your way. Have a nice day. And that is upsetting, misleading, and dangerous because it's not true. People are not finding out what they can apply for or how they can protect themselves because they believe these cards are going to protect them, and they are not. What you told me is she said, I want to see your judicial warrants. There is no judicial warrant when ICE is coming to the car. Judicial warrants are used when ICE is trying to enter a place with private expectations, like a home, okay? Their probable cause really diminishes when somebody's in a car. So this woman is like repeating something that she's been told in a workshop because she thinks it's going to work. And what did it do? It pissed him off. And I know, I've been preaching this since day one, that remaining silent, number one way to piss an ICE officer off once you're detained. I have been really worried about people going out to our ICE office in San Bernardino, sitting in a chair and refusing to speak. That officer is going to be like, I'm done with you. You are on the first bus back to Mexico because you won't talk. I have been butting heads with community advocates because I do not tell my clients, I do not tell people, stay silent, and what I'm talking about, of course, is what's detained. That's what people are worried about. They're not worried about walking down the street on a date. They're more worried about what to do when detained because it's hard to have a lawyer there. ICE won't let us come in as easily as, the advocates like to pronounce, like, oh, you have a right to an attorney. Oh, yeah, I know. But do you know how hard it is for me to get in to see somebody? They make us miserable when we're trying to see people out in Atlanta. Oh, my God, that's the worst. We have to wait in a lobby for hours. They're always counting the population. We wait for something to finish in that. And then 6 hours later, they hope that we're going to disappear, but we're not because we drove up to Atlanta and we're not leaving till we see our client.
And we're also the shifts too. We're switching, everybody's going.
No, they discourage us. They don't let us walk in like a criminal context where the criminal attorney shows up and the mood changes. That does not happen when somebody is detained by ICE. They'll let me sit in a room and have to go through surveillance, and they send me to another door. It's overly difficult. Okay. So once I get in and wait for somebody to attend to me, then they send me to a side room. Have you been out there with me?
On the ICE in San Bernardino?
They have a prison thick glass window. You can barely hear, and you have to get down and say, okay, what's happening? Tell me what's going on. We're trying to help people know what to say when detained. Tell them you have fear or a case pending. We're hearing ICE is releasing people and putting them in court. So if somebody is eligible for court, hopefully they're going to do that, but they're not going to know completely without the detainee talking.
Yeah, we're telling our clients, be your best advocate. Your life here in the US, about your children, everything you have done to be somebody in this country. Most of our clients that we're talking about with this other client that he's been here for a long time, and he's a really good wall designer. The name, he has done mansions and things like that. And he's like, I have a business, I employ people when I need to because I have big projects. And everyone has a story, things they've done and sacrificed to be a good citizen. It's really sad. Just a very small time that you're like detained and then you're placed in a cell, and then you go many times. If you're from Mexico, in a couple of hours, you're in Mexico. But if you're from Central America, they have to wait to, fly you back
Salvador.
home. So
they have to verify your nationality with the consulate and get a travel document if they don't have a passport. And that's why we don't want people carrying passports. It makes it easier for ICE to remove somebody, expeditiously. And we need the time as an attorney to act.
Exactly.
So, that's why. I mean, people who get mad at us for those things clearly have never done this before. We saw one man today preparing him for detention. Good asylum claim is the number one thing we're looking for when people come to us. Trump is out to get immigration attorneys for frivolous asylum claims, but we're talking real asylum claims that we're able to identify. They can tell us something that indicates they're the member of a particular social group. And because of that membership, there's a nexus between them and harm. We can show somebody will be harmed because of their social group. The classic example is our deaf clients are socially visible. And because they're deaf, they're harmed in their home countries. That is a valid asylum claim. When people talk to us, we can identify if they have an asylum claim. I think the next big one would be U visas.
Yeah, he mentioned he was a victim of a crime. We need to dig more into it. A lot of people need to go deep for them to give you this information. And that's why through years, we just been learning different ways of how to approach, because many times they don't tell us on the first meeting, and then later they tell somebody else. Do you tell the attorney? No, because I forgot, or I didn't think it was important. Difficult to get all the information. We don't know if we don't tell us. So it's just hard. But it's on your best interest to just tell us everything that you will need to tell us in order for us to be able to help you and tell you what you're eligible for and what you aren't eligible for. So I think that's very important, because many times they're like, I was afraid that, I wasn't going to get anything anymore. And we're like, well, but I mean, it's better to tell us now instead of later when we've done everything, or we probably put you in a more difficult situation by not telling us the truth.
We do our due diligence.
Yes, of course.
Because, Zayra, when you first talk to people, you're going like taking a half an hour and asking questions, and they don't know you. They're probably on the phone and don't always tell you everything. We're expecting them to tell us the truth. And we have the right as an attorney to expect that and to rely on what people tell us. Then we dig in to due diligence and find out they didn't tell us everything. People sometimes get mad and say, we didn't ask, but we ask every time. That's part of our pre-screening, because we don't want to start a case for somebody who's not eligible. Or attorneys have a bad reputation. All they want is your money. We don't want to start a case and take your money for something you're not eligible for. It harms our reputation. We have an intake, a consultation, and continued due diligence.
It doesn't stop there. We continue to make sure that we're not going to put you in harm's way. It's part of the way we work, and we keep emphasizing that to the client. A lot of people don't like to remember those things, especially if they had a really hard time. They're like, I thought I entered these, but it ended up being that I tried multiple times, things like that. We understand you block difficult, traumatizing moments you lived, and many times you don't want to remember them.
How many times do people have relief when they come to us and do a pre-screening? We probably do 80 pre-screenings a month. Mm-hmm. How often out of 80 do you find? We try to see everybody anyway, even if we don't find relief, to make sure they understand their position. Mm-hmm. How many do you think actually have a potential case?
The one we have consultations, I think it's 80.
No, I'm talking about when you pre-screen somebody.
Yeah, like
let's say out of 10 people, how many do you normally find have relief? What is the percentage?
8.
Like 80% of the time. I don't think people realize we've been doing this for 20 years and not everybody knows they're eligible for things. I've been worried about that with special juvenile immigrant visa now that we're providing legal orientation at the consulate of Guatemala. I was out there on Monday and I could see all these young people, that are clearly under 21. And I don't know how many know about that relief. If they turn 21, they lose it. There's nothing we can do. We want everybody to talk to us. If you're from Guatemala, go to the consulate and meet us. If not, call us. I'm doing an event Sunday. Today is April 3rd, 2025. On Saturday, I think that's the 5th, I'm going to be at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church in San Bernardino, providing consultations. Hopefully Sarah can get this video up tonight. Anybody who wants to meet me can come to the church. We'll be there till 2. And I'll be glad to talk to them. On the 16th, we will have a Zoom call that anybody can join and hear us talk about what's new, like the alien registration requirement, CBP home, or any updates in the law or procedures.
So Hadley on the 16th?
Wednesday the 16th. That's a Zoom call. Anybody can join. They can ask questions. It's meant for anybody who wants to ask questions. We try to keep it general, not private consultation.
And wants to get informed too, like I was saying, so much you see everywhere, many times you don't, what is true, what is not, kind of situation. So what best that, a 22-year experience attorney can answer your questions and tell you, and it's true or no, there's no way. Through our 15 years working together, people come and swear they know a case that murdered 3 people and had drugs convictions and he was able to get a status. How come I can't? And we're like, well, bring us that person.
We don't know.
We don't know that person, and there's no way. People swear they have friends or neighbors, whatever, family members had all this criminality, still able to get a status in this country. I don't have any criminal background. I have done things the right way. Sadly, we can only tell you what you're eligible for and why. I keep restating to the customers that call us, tell them if we can help you, we will. And if we can't, we'll tell you why we can't help you. But we're just not going to just take advantage of you just because you're in this situation, and we'll lie to you and promise something that we can't do. We've been in the community for years. We know that, dealing with people with just different situations, and the last thing we want to do is incur more trauma or more, stress on them by doing something that it's wrong. So I think that's
right. We want to be a safe place. Sometimes people consult with us just to talk through things. That's fine. We do 30 minutes free. And then, Zara, you told me that somebody made a comment like, why hire an attorney? They're too much money. You saw that somewhere. And we really do try to offer payment plans that are very flexible and low payments. I mean, less than your phone bill. We know the processes are expensive because we're really taking care of them. Most processes last a year to 6 years. Somebody must be responsible for 6 years. And the time of the notario is almost over because of the extra scrutiny that the USCIS must do on all applications now, including full interviews where everything is scrutinized. Notarios cannot provide the service required to prepare people for the scrutiny that the USCIS is now using. So it's very dangerous to use a notario. It's always been. Notario became more popular with COVID because there were no interviews for the past 5 years. Over. 100% over. And notarios, they're charging as much as we are. It's ridiculous why anybody would pay somebody who just knows how to download a form as much money as an attorney.
Yeah, we've talked about this many times, about how dangerous it is to go the cheaper way. Like Hadley said, many times it's not even cheaper. It's almost the same as us. And they don't know anything. We keep emphasizing, do not go for the cheaper option. Like Hadley said, USAS right now is really looking with like a magnifier to make sure that, everything is well. If you go to a person who doesn't know what they're doing, you're obviously going to just end up wasting time and money. And I don't know, maybe even getting removed because of going to the cheaper option, or going to the, person that your comadre advised you to go because they approved her husband's case 20 years ago or something like that.
Well, we're having a conversation in my office about how Trump is going after attorneys filing frivolous asylum applications. Why isn't anybody telling Trump about the notarios? I mean, they're all out there, illegally filing for people that are in, that Trump considers to be illegal. So why isn't he going after them? And then somebody brought up to me, well, maybe Trump likes notarios because it helps him find the people and put them in removal or deport them. Where an attorney is not going to be so reckless. So there might be some truth to that. Maybe Trump likes notario operations. Maybe they're step one of enforcement. Walk into a notario, file without proper review, and then suddenly they're referred to a judge and removed.
We're now working officially with the consulate in San Bernardino. The 7 or 8 people we saw were all advised wrongly. This lady kept saying, the attorney I hired, but I'm concerned because my interview is not coming. And we asked, is it really an attorney or is it notario? Notario. And we're like, oh my God. Well, you're in a really bad spot because, has he done background checks? Has he done this? Has he done that? We need to see your file. We cannot give you a green light if you don't have these extra steps done. The notario is not going to care as long as you pay him my hands.
2 years later, you call him from Guatemala and say, they said I can't come back. Oh, really? Sorry.
And
I'm not an attorney. You shouldn't have paid me.
Yeah. Hire an attorney because I can't help if they answer the calls. Because we had this other situation. This lady was desperate. She was a DACA and they're not answering my calls. They're like, if you're so interested on your case, just call yourself. And she was like, I pay you to do this and you're not helping me. I was like, they can't because they're not attorneys. So they just screw up your case.
They don't care.
Sad, but our community, they keep doing this mistake over and over, going to the notario who does real estate, files their taxes, helps with I don't know, so many things. That's why I think it's like a safe place for the community. They feel like they can just do a one-stop thing. Sadly, through all these years, they see the cases. I remember news. They defrauded 10,000 people or 1,000 people, and they're just knocking on this door, like people really desperate, like knocking and trying to break in to see where their file went.
Oh my God.
We just still don't understand, still don't process how bad it is to go with these people. As good as you think they aren't, We talk about that one case that they got right, but you don't know 100 they screwed up. They have no way to be monitored. They don't have, they don't obviously belong to the bar, so you can even complain. I mean, you can actually, report them, but maybe 1 in a million people report and just say, I lost my money, my time, and let me see how I can, you know, get something that is not going to cost me a lot of money. But this is supposed to be expensive, not just pay $100 and get a green card. I asked my dad how he could afford to pay for all of us to come to this country. And, he was just working minimum wage and having 6 kids and a wife back home. And he and I'm just in awe how he was able to do this because it's so expensive, but he still managed to do it. He's like, I saved money. I didn't have a car to help your mom and you and blah blah blah. So and so it's so frustrating, when I hear people complaining and they come in like brand new cars and they have brand name purses and oh yeah, I can afford it. So you mean I have
Yeah.
to pay all this money to get a green card? And I'm like, yes, it's frustrating to see what people's priority are right now. Your status has to be your priority, and if not, you suffer the consequences.
Nobody wants to drive a car that was $100. They they want to drive the car that was, full price because they know they're getting the right thing. And yeah, I mean, we're always using car examples and health examples. But anyway, we're out of time, and I think we covered everything we wanted to say. We really want to emphasize that we're here to do a free consultation. I don't know how to be more clear about this, that's how you're going to save yourself, is by seeing an attorney. We provide a safe space to help you through this difficult time.
Yeah,
We're
Hadley,
partners.
and also, like it's a free consultation. You'll get an advice from somebody who's been doing this for so long, and you're gonna feel more comfortable understanding your situation and what to expect if you get detained or your family members or whatever it is. And also, Hadley, you were also gonna mention about life and people having insurance through their employer.
I'm gonna do people who have MetLife insurance could receive payment, or we would collect the same way you do with medical insurance. So if you have a immigration process and you work for Amazon or Microsoft, you can submit a claim and we will let them know what we're doing for you. And it's very possible that MetLife will cover you. So I'm going to bring more details about how to start that in a separate video. Stay tuned.
Thank you, everyone. And call us, send us your messages, make an appointment. We're here for you. We want to be the person that you can rely on the information that we can provide to you, for you and your family. It's always a pleasure giving you this information and talking to you. Thank you so much.